Chapter 1: The Skull. In this chapter, you will learn all about one of the most important parts of an animal's anatomy, the skull. The shape and size of the skull varies widely, not only between species, but also with age, breed, and sex of a similar species. One of the main functions of the skull is to protect the brain, but we will learn much more about this complex structure. This is a top view of a skull. Can you guess what species this is? If you guess dog or canine, you are correct. Can you find the eyes? When you look at an animal, the eyes are often the first thing you notice. The eyes and other organs like ears, nose, tongue, and brain are housed in the skull. The teeth that animals use for feeding and biting are also housed in the skull. In some animals, the skull has horns or antlers used for defense or fighting. The skull is made up of several bones that are either fused together or are held by sutures, which are fibrous and flexible. Notice how each skull bone is identified by a specific number. You will want to use your book or worksheets that accompany this course and shade the bones with the same number, using the same color on every page. You will also want to become familiar with the names of each one of these bones as we compare them in different species. Let's start by looking at the dog skull from a dorsal view. The brain case of dogs is made up of these paired bones: the paired frontal bones, the paired parietal bones, the paired temporal bones. The occipital bone is on the back of the skull. Looking at the side of the dog skull, we can see a different perspective. Here is how the frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital bone appear from the side. These same bones can be found in other animals. Let's look at them to see how each animal has adapted these bones to fit their needs. Looking at the bones that make up the brain case of the elephant, we can see that they have changed their shape in order to provide a much taller box for the skull. These changes help to support the elephant's massive trunk. Do you see the changes in the bones compared to the dog? Let's look at a smaller skull. The skull of the shrew is long so that the jaws can open wide to get a good bite. Notice the long tubular shape of the skull. Let's look closely at the bones of the brain case.